Do you always take forever to mix a new song, no matter what you try? Listen, if you want to be a pro mixer or just get your own music sounding awesome faster, you gotta learn how to speed up your mixing game. Check out these 5 killer tips that'll help you slash your mixing time. You know, when I first started mixing my tracks, I always began with a totally empty session. I thought each mix was unique and I didn't want them all to sound the same, but man, was I off. It turns out I was doing exactly the same darn thing every time and wasting a ton of time in the process. You've probably heard of mixing templates, and let me tell you, having one is one of the most important things if you want to speed up your mixes. Basically, with a template you can skip a ton of steps and save yourself a lot of time. Now, I'm not gonna get into how to make a specific template in this video, but if you want me to explain how you can do that, let me know in the comments below. So, the whole point of having a template is to have all your usual routing and parallel effects systems set up and ready to go. You should also have your favorite effects loaded into the corresponding channels and your plugins that you use on the Master bus already configured. That way, when you're ready to mix, you can just import your audio channels and you're good to start working right away. Another advantage of this method is that once you get familiar with your template, you'll know how your sessions are built. So when you come back to a session after some time, you'll be 100% oriented and won't waste any time trying to remember how it was set up. Now, before we get to the next tip, if this is your first time around, welcome to the channel. Whether you're a seasoned producer or just getting started, I've got tips, tricks, and insights that will help you take your music to the next level. From composition to mixing and mastering to gear reviews and plugin comparisons. I'm Fernandast from thatpromix.com, music producer and mixing and mastering engineer. So if you're interested in learning more about these topics, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Having a template is useless if we don't keep it updated. You know, it's not a set it and forget it thing. We need to start creating the basic functions, and then as we use it, we'll realize the things that we need to change. But what's the best and most efficient way to do this? This is how I do it. Create a note in your favorite note-taking app, whether it's on your phone or PC, but it's important that you have it easily accessible and has a function to mark tasks as completed. I use Apple Notes and I love it because it syncs notes across all my devices. Now, the reason why it's important that access is easy and quick is that while we're mixing, we'll have our notes open, and every time we realize something needs to change, we're gonna write it down in our app. Then when we start our next mix, the first thing we're gonna do is check the note and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. We save the template and move forward. This way, we're always going to keep our template up to date, and we're gonna improve it from mix to mix. But what if there are too many changes? Like, for example, updating a whole chain of plugins. Here's what I do. I have specific names for certain channels, like reverb 1 and 2, delay 1 and 2, and so on. Then I create a preset for each channel and keep them all in the same folder. If I move something during the mix, I save the preset and write on my to-do list, reload delay preset. So when I start the next session, I recall the preset and that's it. Back to work. Let me tell you something important about using audio applications. Knowing the key commands and programming your own macros can make a huge difference in your workflow and productivity. Think about it. Each time you need to adjust a setting or perform a specific action, you could either take your hand, click around the interface and find the right button to click. Or you could just press a key command and activate a macro and have it all done in a fraction of a time. Learning the key commands of your favorite audio application can take a little bit of time up front, but it is a small investment that can pay off big time in the long run. Once you've memorized them, you'll be able to work much more efficiently, and your creative flow won't be interrupted by searching for the right buttons or menu options. And if you really want to take your productivity to the next level, consider programming your own macros. With a macro, you can automate a series of actions and assign them to a simple key command or button press. For example, you could create a macro that sets up your preferred EQ settings and insert a particular compressor plugin on a track, all in one go. Let me give you an example of one of my favorite commands in Cubase. With the function keys, I can navigate the channels inside my mix groups. It's so convenient because I can switch between different sections of the session super fast. And here's a bonus tip if you're on a Mac. One of the most useful programs I found ever is called Keyboard Maestro. It lets you program your own macros, which is pretty awesome. I highly recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description. And just so you know, this video isn't sponsored by Keyboard Maestro. And hey, if you want me to make a dedicated video about my favorite functions in Keyboard Maestro, let me know in the comments below. When you're working with virtual instruments and MIDI, your computer has to work extra hard to process all the notes and effects in real time. But when you export those tracks as audio files, your computer can chill out and just play back the recordings without all the extra processing. And that means you can load up your mix session with all your audio files and not have to worry about your computer lagging behind or crashing. Plus, exporting your tracks beforehand lets you do stuff like comping and editing. And this may seem kinda unimportant, but sometimes it helps a lot when you can see the waveform of your tracks in your session. It lets you have a glance at the dynamics of your channels without having to look at the meters. And by the way, I have a whole video dedicated on how to bounce and export your tracks. I'll leave a link in the info section below. First off, reference tracks can help you nail down the sound you're going for faster, since you have a clear point of reference to compare your mix to. This means you don't have to waste time experimenting with different settings or effects to find the right sound. Additionally, using reference tracks can help you identify problems areas in your mix more quickly. If you're not sure why your mix isn't sounding quite right, you can compare it to your reference tracks and see if there are any obvious differences. This can save you from spending hours tweaking things that might not need tweaking. Another benefit of using reference tracks is that it can help you make decisions more efficiently. When you have a reference track to compare to, you can quickly know what changes you need to make in order to get your mix to sound similar. This can save you from getting bogged down in decision making and help you move through the mixing process more smoothly. Plus, you end up with a mix that sounds closer to your ideal sound more quickly, which is always a win in my book. Alright, so those were my 5 tips on how to mix faster. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the circle above, and if you want to watch another video, here you have one.